Hello everyone, greetings to all. My name is Lee Pui San and I'm from Malaysia. Today I'll be sharing with you a topic called a self-reflection journey of discovering various personas in handling behaviors as an early childhood music educator through a transactional analysis approach. So first and foremost, what is this about? It's about behavior outcomes that is a result of personas and ego states, short for ES. It is also about the educator's mindset and how it influences behavior and effectiveness of the learning environment. And also finally, it is about a self-reflection journey as an educator towards our job. Now, what is the self-reflection journey? Uh, I'm an early childhood music educator to typical and special educational needs students since year 2010. And I've taught based on my hands-on experience. And recently, I have obtained my Master of Arts in Education, specializing in special and inclusive education to understand my special needs students more in depth. Now, here is a picture which I have always loved. This student of mine, whom I've taught many years ago, uh, why I like this picture is because if you can see her hand touching mine, it represents to me that she's connecting her world to me. She's inviting me into her world. So that touch, to me, it reflects something which is very sincere and also trust in relationship. And as an introduction, I would like to share with you that all behavior are functional and all behavior are also a form of communication. Now, TA, transactional analysis, is actually ego state plus the life position. When you have all this in hand, then we can handle behavior more mindfully as well as to aim towards personal growth. And TA will be my underlying theory. And what is persona? It is the aspect of someone's character that is presented to or perceived by others. And finally, TA is restorative and not reactive. So now here we have our ego states and life positions. So let's see what is it about. Now, first of all, ego state. There are three types: the parent, the adult, and the child. Now, a parent ego state is very nurturing and controlling in nature. But the adult ego state will think objectively, and this is the most ideal ego state. And finally, someone with a child ego state is actually from one's childhood. That individual can be curious and open-minded, or even guilty and afraid. And now, life position, we have four categories as well. I am okay and you are okay. This is the most ideal life position. This is where we can nurture a child and maximize their capability while the teacher himself or herself are also okay. Now, if I am okay and you are not okay, then that is not so ideal. Now, why? Being me as a teacher, I'm perhaps more superior than you are. So I inflict you have to do this, you have to do this, and you have to do so. So that makes you not okay. You might have a self-esteem or self-confidence issue. Now, but if I am not okay and you are okay, that is not right as well. Now, why? Being a teacher, not having enough self-confidence, always giving in, trying to fit in, where the student is more superior than the teacher. The student might go overboard. And finally, if I am not okay and you are not okay, then that is the least ideal life position. So next, why TA? Why transactional analysis? It is because TA goals are actually more effective in communicating ways, and the interaction is to improve relationship. And we want to guide students towards I am okay so that they can think for themselves and they can utilize their maximum capacity. And for us to think for ourselves, it is important. For us to be responsible for our decision is also important. And we want to instill all this in our students because, in my perception, behaviors are actually not okay, but individuals, they are okay. So, what is the core of TA? It is to believe that people are okay. And Martin Denham in 2015 says that students respond better through singing than spoken words. Now, students, when they have behavior issues, when they wish to escape, they won't tell you, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that, I want to go home. The verbal expressions are not there. But instead, they might sing the goodbye song. It shows that they want to leave. They want to go back home. They want to escape from the activity. So this is actually a non-expressive or non-verbal cue to show that they want to leave. They want to escape. And Lawmayer 2017 talked about behavior. Music itself can instill positive behavior. It is actually a non-confrontational tool, and it is to correct unwanted behavior. Now, to teach behavioral skills, they are nonverbal gestures, breathing, as well as eye contact. So, through a self-reflection journey of mine, I used to say in my group class, don't run so fast. I would tell the kids that. But to them, perhaps it is more related when I tell them or when we are acting out. The wind is blowing very gently. This is not a windstorm. So I can act this out and the kids will follow me. And with that, they won't be running so fast. So in other words, this is a non-confrontational language. And behavior difficulties, when they arise, it means that actually the child is having trouble internalizing and externalizing behavior, whether to oneself or to others. And all behaviors are functional and self-regulated. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to share with you about my past, a reflection on my own background. So, yes, it is important to reflect on ourselves first. So, I started off with accountancy. Then I am always at the I'm not okay life position because it is not something that I fancy, and I did not know why I actually went into accountancy. So I was not self-assured, which leads to our title, self-esteem. And then I taught music and movement group classes. What I wanted was discipline and control. I want to control the class. I want everyone to be, good and nice. Then with that also, I cannot surpass the I'm not okay life position. So according to Reed and Schmidt, there is a correlation between teachers' efficacy and confidence in the adoption of inventive teaching strategies. So what we need to do is to surpass this I'm not okay to I am okay by having more self-confidence. And next, well, low esteem has actually decreased the negative behavior I try to avoid personally. And I wanted to mirror the positive behavior of students, meaning I want good behavior. I don't want negative behaviors. So I avoid facing things that are not within my control. So instead of gaining control and order, I could have approached discipline more responsively through the TA approach. Now, misbehavior is when a child is unable to integrate the different parts of the brain concurrently. And me as a teacher, I am lack of confidence. Therefore, I'm not responsive and I'm not tackling tantrums with a mindful reaction. So, what happens when I have low self-esteem and confidence? I am not an effective and also a flexible teacher. This is not what we want. And I cannot reach my full potential because I myself have low esteem and I need to educate my students. I need to teach my students. And also, I cannot maximize the capability of my students because of my low confidence. And finally, I did not resolve any behavior issues effectively. Why? Because I'm not okay and you are not okay. So this was the life position that I've instilled in my student and myself. So now different ego states in different settings, it can happen. Okay, for example, I wanted to be nice. I give in to my students' requests easily. So I adopt a persona that I perceive my students wanted me to. Therefore, I am not okay, but you are okay. Meaning, I as a teacher, I give in to you, and you as a student are more superior. So with that, this is the adapted child ego state. And the adapted child ego state is actually a feeling of insecure and trying to please, trying to fit into the students' needs and all. And this is the disadvantage of the child persona, where I've mentioned earlier, students will go overboard. And when they go overboard, this will manifest negative behaviors or behavioral issues. And the importance of what we want is to adopt the adult and positive nurturing parent. Now, in different ego states of different settings also, we must have the confidence as a teacher to balance between these ego states. Now, how do we do it? We need to know which ego states to use at which different settings. So it also reflects that we are treating different individual and different contexts. So if we know how to tackle this individual or context, then we are able to know which ego state to use. And not only that, it comes with skills. Now, what type of skills? Observational skills and adaptation skills. So all these are done through the experience and understanding the child. Now, mindful adult ego state. Now, what is this? When we are mindful and we adopt the adult ego state, remember, which was the ideal ego state, we tend to be more responsive than reactive. And apart from that, it is about being present, being in the moment, and also to be observant towards our students. Now, responsive is more of a rationality to response. On the contrary, reactive is a faster approach. Now, but which works better? Now, we must not be triggered by challenging behavior. It might be easier to be reactive, and it might take more mindfulness to be responsive. But responsive is the aim that we want when we are mindful about our ego state. Therefore, understanding what the student is communicating to me through their behavior is highly essential. We do not take this for granted. We do not take their behavior for granted because every behavior are functional. There's a reason for every behavior that the child portrays. It is us educators the reason to find out why the child is behaving so. And in the classroom, this is my next self-reflection journey. I started to have more self-esteem and confidence. Yeah, throughout the years of experience and all. And I handle behavior better than previously, I would say. And this is done by observing the reaction and also how I respond to my students. Okay, case number one. I would like to share with you about a boy who's my student. When he came to me, he was actually a transfer student from my colleague. So he came in and he was always angry. He is angry about everything. So he's displeased with me. He doesn't like me. He would actually compare me to his previous teacher, and he just doesn't like me. So what I did was initially I asked him to play pieces according to the syllabus or according to how it should be, and that increases behavior issues. So then I thought I asked him, what kind of music would you like to play? He gave me some pop song, which are actually not playable by him at that stage because it's a special needs child. So what I did was I simplified the piece so that it is playable by him. So I might do a duet with him, and I might write down cues for him. So he's very happy when he's able to play songs that he likes. And he knew how much of effort I've put in so that he can play the pieces that he liked. But I told him, you must do what I want you to do first, then we will do the things that you like. So on and so forth. In one class, this is how we do it. So slowly he started to have more confidence in me. He knew what I was doing for him. And there was a trust in relationship between the both of us from then on. So subsequently, behavior issues just decreased, and he was less angry. There were lesser tantrums, and yes, he listens to me more. So when I am okay, you see, I can guide a student towards I'm okay. And by having this, the learning environment is actually more conducive. We can learn more, we can learn better. And we can also achieve more goals, be it musical goals or total development goals or life goals, and other aspects like developmental goals as well. So this is to decrease behavior issues and increase behavior awareness and relationship. Now, the trust in student-teacher relationship, as you can see, improving student-teacher relationship actually has increased the trust a student has in the teacher. By then, the students are engaged in the learning outcome and behavior issues can be decreased. Apart from that, what is behavior management? It is actually to provide a positive and nurturing environment. And it is also to build positive communication and relationship between the teacher and the student. Apart from that, when I enter my student's world through the music he fancies, that boy particular number one, I, I have gained his trust. So by playing pieces according to the syllabus and to my way, meaning you do what I asked you to do, well, this did not work because that was a negative controlling parent. But if we give in, not to say give in, we have this balance where you follow the syllabus and I teach you the song that you fancy. It works both way, and that worked. So that is the positive, nurturing parent and also adult persona. So by the end of the day, we are able to gain better trust in student-teacher relationship. Now, when this happens, behavior issues will decrease. The class will be actually more effective because he listens more and he trusts in me more than last time. And we're able to play more pieces, and finally, we are able to achieve more musical goals. So for case one, the first question is, why did he rebel? When he was transferred to me, he sees me as not okay. He is inadequate of himself. Thus, he is looking for signs of recognition, be it positive or negative strokes. Now, a stroke is a unit of recognition, which is an acknowledgement through action or speech. And in the absence of positive strokes, he has accepted negative strokes, which are actually criticism. Thus, he has portrayed behavior issues. And negative strokes are criticizing his behavior. Now, by doing so, this won't help in our relationship. It might manifest even more behavior issues. But through understanding his behavior, I've actually taught him how to calm down when an outburst is about to happen, and how not to release his anger at the spur moment. So, in order for him to realize his own behavior, what I've done is I've demonstrated a behavior mirroring of his short temper. For example, he threw his tantrum and I acted with the same tone, pitch, and sound. And I asked him if it is correct. Then he will realize, oh, this is what I see and this is what I have been doing. So he will self-realize that it is wrong. So as a teacher, I must be rational. My reflection must be non-emotional, and I must forgo rigidity. Flexibility is highly essential. Now, case number two is another boy, another special needs student of mine, who loves the story about the tortoise and the hare. So I have plush toys. One, the tortoise. Second, the hare. Now, all my students actually, they love the tortoise very much. I think it's because my tortoise, Mr. Tortoise, has huge eyes. So this boy, he loves Mr. Tortoise so much, but he loved Mr. Tortoise in the wrong way. He is so happy each time he sees Mr. Tortoise that he will laugh at Mr. Tortoise. Not only that, he will stamp his feet on Mr. Tortoise. And he has once actually scratched the Mr. Tortoise eyes out where my mom had to sew it back. Yeah, so I told him that was not right. So this behavior has manifested for, let's say, about 3-4 weeks, and he would actually laugh when he recalled that he took off the tortoise eyes, and I don't think it's right. So I told his parents, let's cooperate together. So what I did was I hid Mr. Tortoise, and I told him, Mr. Tortoise has gone away because you have mistreated him, and he is very sad. So he, the student, did not make any comments. On the second week, when he comes back, he asked me, where is Mr. Tortoise? I reminded him, Mr. Tortoise ran away. So by the third week, when he came back, he has created some, what I call, wayang kulit characters. In other words, it is shadow puppet characters. So he made the tortoise and the hare and the whole story all in little puppets form, using paper and sticks. So he told me, teacher, you take this one first, and so that the other children can have Mr. Tortoise and Mr. Hare. Now he knew that what he did when he chased Mr. Tortoise off, the other children also have lost Mr. Tortoise. So when he did this shadow puppet, it's actually for other children as well, so that they can have Mr. Tortoise, meanwhile waiting for the plush toy to come back. So I know that he has realized it, and his parents has been feeding him with info at home. Now why? Because you see, the child is at home most of the time with their parents. I only see him once. So I need to liaise with the parents so that they can help me instill what is right to him. So finally, on the final week, I took out Mr. Tortoise. But before that, I asked him, how will you treat Mr. Tortoise if he's back? How would you feel? He said, I will feel happy, and I will take good care of Mr. Tortoise. So that was when I gave him Mr. Tortoise, and he was very, very happy. He told me, I am so happy. I love you, Mr. Tortoise. So that is the story of the tortoise and the hare. So here I would like to share with you is the positive parent-teacher relationship. Now, the initial stage for a student to come to me, there are actually various aspects which they have to get used to. And it is not easy. It is overwhelming for a child. They need to adapt to new environment, new teacher. What are classroom discipline? They need a longer time to adapt, a longer time to overcome their challenging behavior. Thus, case number two, this boy, he has communicated this discomfort to me through challenging behavior. Something which he actually fancies, but he shows the opposite expression. And also, when special needs students, they have the need for affection through behavior, that is because all behaviors are conditional. And for behavioral awareness to happen, the student must be responsible for his own doing. Now, for me, I've adopted the adult and positive nurturing parent persona. So under the TA assumption, the transactional analysis assumption, he is okay, but his behavior is not okay. So adapting this persona is for him to self-realize before I brought back Mr. Tortoise. He should understand what has happened, what are the circumstances, how can he improve his behavior. Therefore, as a teacher, I believed he has the capacity to think for himself and to make his own decision. What I believe is in he's able to resolve at his own natural pace, and he has actually created alternative for other children by creating these shadow puppets instead of not doing anything. So he actually realized his own misdoing, and self-realization is highly essential because he's actually showing his affection and excitement in an inappropriate behavior. So observational learning through behavior mirroring. Now, what are these? Uh, just like before, I stepped on Mr. Tortoise like how he did. So this is behavior mirroring. So when children they are exposed to this, the behavior options and consequences, they are able to increase their observation. Oh, if I see this is what is happening, this is what I've done, then they will understand better. So for case number 2, first, I did behavior mirroring and I've given him the option to choose. Next, I've shown him affection and excitement can be done in a more appropriate way and not like how he has done it. And finally, not by acting the opposite towards something he adores. So working with parents is very important. I always rely on parents to reinforce positive behavior at home. Once again, reason being, the child is at home most of the time. I see the child only once a week. So parents' cooperation actually will lead to a positive correlation between parental involvement and teacher, as well as low margin of behavior problem to good quality parent-teacher relationship. This has been done by Prichard et al. In year 2013, and the positive correlation between a child's musical development and the parent-teacher-student relationship has been done in a research by Creech 2010 and Creech and Halm 2011. And in conclusion, we must mindfully tackle issues here and now, which is the present. An educator's persona, ego state, life position, and strokes are highly essential. Why? Because it affects the behavioral outcome of a student. And we can mold our student to I'm okay. And when we are mindful of our student needs, we will lead to happy and purposeful environment where this learning environment is actually a variable entity. Now, we help them in their behavior and not only focusing on the curriculum, where the curriculum is a fixed entity. Finally, a positive parent-teacher relationship is so important. This triangle relationship will decrease behavioral issues and it will create a more conducive learning environment. Last but not least, behavioral issues affect effectiveness of classroom. Here are some reference which I've put it down for all of you. And ladies and gentlemen, last but not least, let's incorporate self-reflection and be more mindful in our teaching. Thank you.